Good morning, everybody. As we come together to learn Chitas today, we're holding on chapter 4, verse 18. We're holding on the book of Exodus, book of Shemais, the first Pasha. Vayelech Moshe vayashav al Yetzer Chesnei. So Moshe returned and he went to his father. He came back to his father-in-law, Yetzer. He told him, Elchav, no, please let me go. Vashuva al Achai. Let me go and return to my brothers, Asheb and Mitzrayim, who are in the land of Egypt. And I want to see if they're still alive. Yisrael told Moshe, Lech l'shalom, go in peace. Now she says, why did he come back to his father-in-law? To take leave? Because as we mentioned in Rashi before, that he made a shvuah to him that he would not leave Midian without his permission. Then Rashi says, we know that Yisro had 7 names: Ruel, Yeser, Yisro, Keni, Chayvav, Chever, Putil. So he had these 7 different names. Vayem Hashem al Moshe, and God said to Moshe with Midian and Midian, Leich Shuv Mitzrayim, go back to Mitzrayim. Because all those that wanted to give you trouble, wanted to kill you, have died. Now she says, who are they? We know these are Dasan and Aviram, and we know that they didn't die. It tells us that somebody who loses, they lost their gedula, they lost all their power, they lost all their property, they lost all their money. And they were considered as if they weren't alive. Moshe took his wife, his banav and his children, and he carried them. He mounted them upon the donkey. And he came back. He returned to the land of Mitzrayim. Moshe took a samate, and Moshe took the staff of God in his hand. Now she says over here, the word says al hachamer. It's the hay. Whenever it says the hay, it means a designated donkey, because this is a very special donkey. This is a donkey that Avraham Avinu rode to the Akedah. This is Moshe Rabbeinu rode this donkey, and this is the famous donkey that says the Mashiach is going to come riding on this donkey. So this is a donkey we are all waiting for. Ani reichav al hachamer. That Mashiach is going to be riding on a donkey. And he returned to the land of Egypt. Moshe took the staff with him. Now she says, there's no chronological order in the Torah. And God said to Moshe, God, and on his way back to Mitzrayim, see all these miracles, which I've put into your hand. And you'll do it before the Pharaoh. And I'll strengthen his heart. He's not going to send you. Now she says, you should know that with this intention you shall go, that you shall be steadfast in your mission. Don't be afraid of your mission. Don't be afraid of the mission that you have. Be strong in your mission. Gilbert said to do all the miracles in front of the Pharaoh, and you shall not be afraid of him. He did not say this in reference to the 3 above mentioned signs, for he had not commanded that he Moshe to do them before the Pharaoh. He told him to do it before Israel, the 3 signs of the previous 3 signs that a stick will turn into a snake. In order they should believe him, they did not, and in order that they should believe him, and we did not find that he performed them before the Pharaoh. Regard the sign that designates in the hands of Egypt. When the Pharaoh speaks to you, asking you to perform a sign, do not wonder that is written that I have placed, meaning implying the past tense, because this is what it means. When you speak to him, I already placed it in your hands. You should tell Pharaoh, Hashem, this is what God says. B'ni b'chayri Yisrael, my firstborn son of Israel. Now she says, when you hear that his heart is hard, and refuses to send the Jews out of him, you just say to him thus, B'ni b'chayri Lashon Gedula. This is an expression of greatness. Similar to I shall make him my firstborn. This is a simple meaning. But in the Midrashic interpretation, over here is where the Eibush to acknowledge the sale of the birthright of Yaakov Avinu, which Yaakov bought for Esav. Over here is where God agreed that Yaakov Avinu was the Bechor, B'ni Bechor Yisrael. Verse 23. You should tell him, Shalach has been send my son, V'yavduni, and let him serve me. But Timon Shalchai, but he will, if he refuses, send you. I'm going to slay your firstborn. Now she says, in God's name, you're here as a messenger of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, God. This is the last plague, but he warned Pharaoh about it first because it's the most severe. And that's what the Torah said. That's what the pasuk says. Behold, God deals lofty in his power. Therefore, who is a teacher like him? A man of flesh and blood who seeks to avenge himself against his fellow conceals his plans, so will not seek to rescue. The Holy One, blessed be He, deals lofty with his strength. He's not afraid of anybody, and no one has the capability of escaping his hands except by returning to him, by repenting. Therefore, he teaches him about the possible punishment and warns him to repent. The Eibush doesn't hide any secrets. He told right away to Pharaoh that you are the most harshest punishment. He says you're gonna lose your first children. And on their way, they stopped in the inn. Hashem, they came. The Lord met him there. And he wanted to kill him. So now she says, he was on his way. He sought to kill Moshe because he neglected to circumcise his son Eliezer. Because he neglected it, he was punishable by death. It was taught in the Brisa. Rabbi Yossi said, God forbid Moshe did not neglect it, but he reasoned, shall I circumcise as I go forth on the road? It will be dangerous for the child for 3 days. So I'll circumcise and wait 3 days. But the Holy One, blessed be commanded, go return to Egypt. Moshe hurried to Egypt, intended to circumcise upon his return. Why then was he punished by death? Because first he busied himself with detail of his lodging. This appears in the tractate in the Dorim. The angel turned in a sort of a serpent and swallowed Moshe Rabbeinu from his head to his thigh, and then spit him out and swallowed him from his feet to his thigh. So Peter therefore understood it was because of the failure to perform the circumcision. So that's why Vatikar Tzipeda Sar. Tzipeda took a sharp stone, Vatichles Tzalos Bana, she circumcised her son. Vatigal Araga, but she cast the foreskin to his feet. For you are a bridegroom of blood to me. Now she says she casted the Moshe's feet. She said on her son, you caused my bridegroom, who's almost to be killed, God forbid. You are the slayer of my bridegroom. You're like an aggressor. She released him. So he released him. He then said, you're a bridegroom of the blood concerning the circumcision. Now she said the angel released Moshe Rabbeinu. She then understood that it's because of the circumcision that has come to slay him. Amra Stan Damala Merlis. My bridegroom would have been murdered because of the circumcision. Lamal is concerned with the circumcision. And God said to Adam, Moshe, go towards Moshe. Hamidbara, who is in the desert. And he went. He met him at the mountain of God. And they kissed each other. Yagid Moshe Ladin, it's called Divri Hashem, and Moshe told Aaron all that God had told him. Asher Shochoy, that he has sent him, Vayiskola Esa Shetzivo, and all the miracles that he commanded him. Vayelech Moshe v'Aaron, and Moshe, and then Aaron went, Vayisuf V'Skov Zikri Yisrael. Bnei Yisrael, they gathered all the elders of the Jewish people. Vaydaber Aaron, it's called Dvarim, and God spoke all these words, Asher Diber Hashem, which God spoke. And he did the miracle before the eyes of the people. Verse 31, and the Jewish people believed. And they heard. Hashem saw that the God had remembered the Jewish people. He saw their affliction. And they kneeled and they prostrate themselves. And that completes the Chumash for today. We now go to the Tanya of the day, which is the 13th chapter of Tanya. It's an auspicious day to learn Tanya. It's the yard site of the Alter Rebbe. Passed away in 1812, I believe. Read that name today, so it's 1812. I believe it says 1812. And was buried in Haditch. And today is his yard site. So today is the day that we can connect to his neshama on a greater level through the teachings of his chassidus. Also, today is the yard site, correct, of Eliyahu ben Binyamin Halevi. Am I correct? Also, the yard site of Eliyahu ben, I think, ben Binyamin Halevi. Okay, let's go to most of the
Eliyahu ben Shlomo Halevi.
Ben Shlomo Halevi, thank you very much. Eliyahu ben Shlomo Halevi, the neshama shall have an aliyah. Should be an ambassador of goodness and kindness.
Amen.
So we learn L'zeich Nishmasam. The Alter Rebbe says over here in the previous chapter, the Alter Rebbe described the spiritual profile of a Beinani. In the Beinani's heart, he said the Alter Rebbe, the evil desire may often rise, but his divine soul constantly prevents such a desire from finding expression in the actual thought, speech, and action. On the contrary, these three soul garments are the exclusive domain of the divine soul and are utilized by the Beinani only for thoughts, speech, and action of Torah, and the study and fulfillment of mitzvahs. And that's what the Alter Rebbe explained in chapter 12. Say Yuvan, the Alter Rebbe continues, according to my explanation, you'll understand. I'm Rabbi saying the statement of our sages of blessed memory. They say in the Gemara, that a Beinani, they are judged by both, by their good and by evil, by the positive inclination, by the negative inclination. Pirush, the meaning it is, they're good and the evil inclination. Both judge him. What does that mean? Judge him. They dictate his conduct. They both are involved in his life, his godly soul and his animalistic soul. And they are both involved. They're both well and alive. And they both try to dictate to him what he should do and what he shouldn't do. See, as it says, written that he, the Almighty, stands at the right hand of the poor man to save him from the judges, from that who judges his soul. So the plural them that judge indicate the presence of two judges within the person, the evil inclination and the good. We thus find the Beinoni inclinations are described to him as judges. Now, were the term Beinoni to be understood in a simple, literal sense of one who is equal history of good and bad, it should more properly have said the Beinoni is ruled by both. For one who's to sin, his evil inclination must rule him. For him to do good, his good inclination must rule him. The Beinoni who supposedly does both must be ruled, not merely judged by both. However, according to the explanation, the term Beinoni given in the previous chapter, it is clear that indeed the Beinoni is merely judged. He's not ruled by his God, by his animalistic soul, God forbid. He's judged. The animal soul keeps on giving his interpretation. He keeps on trying to be the knacker in the situation. He's not ruled, as shall explain. It doesn't say the sages don't say that both of them rule him. Chas v'shalom, God forbid, because he's not ruled a moment in his life by his animalistic soul, by his Yetzer Hara. Because God forbid, if there's a rule of domination of the animal soul, the Yetzer Hara, even for a moment, momentarily, meaning whenever evil rules one's body, likened to a city which both good and inclination and evil seek to conquer, then he's a wicked person. Then he's not only he's not a tzaddik, he's not a Beinoni. If he's ruled by his animal soul, at that moment that he is ruled and dominated, it means that when you say something is ruled, means that you follow its direction. And you're following the direction of your animal soul. The second I'm following the direction of my animal soul, then I'm not a tzaddik. I'm not, forget about, I'm not a Rasha. Rather, the evil inclination in the Beinoni is no more than, for example, a magistrate or a judge. Every judge in Jewish law, you have 3 judges in every court. So you have, everybody has their opinion. So that's what you have. You have 2 judges who argue, and you have the third one. It's who comes, and that's what it is. So you have your godly soul is judge, says his opinion. Your animal soul says his opinion. Now you go to God, and God will be the third opinion. And God will always go with Torah, with your godly soul. You have 2 against 1. So therefore, that's the way it should be done. But in fact, his decision not necessarily final. In a regular court case, you have 2 rabbis arguing. One says good, one says bad. Both are entitled to their opinion. Really, who's going to make the final judgment? There's the third rabbi. Is he going to agree like A, or is he going to be like B? And that, according to the third rabbi, the third opinion, we're going to come to a conclusion to the majority of opinions. Because there's another guy who disagrees. And therefore, it's necessary, in order to formulate the binding decision, to arbitrate between the 2. And the final verdict rests on the arbitrator, the third rabbi. So too the Yetzer Hara. So too in the battle between the evil inclination and the good, the evil inclination states its opinion in the left part of the heart. He creates an evil desire in his heart. The man acts accordingly. So the evil guy says, listen, I'm thinking about myself. Think everything in a selfish way. Everything you do should be for yourself. Even the godly things. Do it for yourself. Where you're going to gain out of it. Where you're not going to gain out of it. And that's what your animalistic soul says. That's all your animalistic soul says. He wants you to be you are the center and focus of your life. And therefore, whether you're doing animalistic stuff, whether you're doing godly stuff, it's all about you, about me. And that's it. And and for the heart to descend to the mind, to contemplate it. This ascent is automatic. When a desire is awake in the heart, the brain will contemplate it. And the second that happens, your brain wakes up, and the second judge, the second opinion, your godly soul says, it doesn't work that way. It's challenged by the second judge, divine soul residing in the brain, which will ultimately extend to the right part of the heart, with the good inclination abides, so to say. So the good inclination is actually a voice of the divine soul, emotional attribute, and hence active in the right side of the heart. So the good inclination thus battles the evil, ensuring that the latter passion not be realized. For the opinion of the good inclination is that the body's faculties and organs be utilized only in matters of holiness. So he says, why would you be selfish? But be holy. So what do? We have two opinions. Therefore, we go to the arbitrator. This is the Holy One, blessed be He. Which comes to the aid of the good inclination, enabling it to prevail over the evil inclination. As our sages said, if it wasn't that God comes to help your Yetzer Tov, my Yetzer Tov, I would not overcome my evil inclination. What is the Ezer? What the help that God grants him? This is the glow, the divine light that illuminates my godly soul. So it may gain the superiority and the mastery of the folly of the fool, which is my evil inclination. As we mentioned before, the greatness is the superiority of light over darkness. And that's the Eir Hashem. That's the light of God, this little flicker of my neshama. Which this little light, how minute this light is. This little light ultimately has the capability to overcome my animalistic soul. So just like a little light banishes much darkness, so too the abounding folly and the darkness of one's evil inclination, driven away by dint of a little light of holiness emanating from the divine soul, may be the ray of this divine illumination that constitutes God's assistance of the divine soul. So as mentioned, today's Chav Dalet Tevis, as we end today's Chitas, today, most important teachings of the Alter Rebbe is Meir Shalat al Alev. The Eibishter put in essence, yet my godly soul, how big or how small it might be, against my animalistic soul, how big, how small it might be, that my godly soul is Oir, is a part of God Himself. And therefore, it's not important how big my godly soul is, because even if it's only a flicker of light, the Eibishter created that Ma'at Oir, a little light, automatically chases away an abundance of darkness. So therefore, the Eibishter God in essence put into the system that Moyach Shal Talalev, that because my brain, my intellect, which is the Mishkan, which is the source and the place of my Nefesh Elikis, my godly soul, is Oir, is light, and therefore it has the capability from time of creation to overcome the most strongest Yetzer Hara I might have, the most strongest darkness that might be out there. Doesn't make a difference. The Eibishter created in essence that truth and light and joy and love and all these entities have an unbelievable power in them. Their power is not in their in being a majority. The power is not in their might. The power is in their essence. Light automatically chases away darkness. Just like Moyach Shalat Alev, the Eibishter made it to begin with, that the Moyach doesn't make a difference how big of a Moyach I have. Doesn't go in volume or in space or in height or in greatness. That's the way it is. In essence, the Eibishter created that a little, as you see in the physical, even in the physical world, that a little light chases away a lot of darkness, and not only chases away, it automatically moves away darkness. Memela, so to say, automatically. I don't have to work hard on eliminating darkness by bringing in a small candle into the room. It disappears darkness. That's the way God put it into the system. And that's the way it's created. That's the way we should understand that in our own lives. It's one of the most important teachings of the Alter Rebbe is the chapter 13 and 12 and 13, that we have to realize that the greatness of light over darkness, you have to understand the difference that the Alter Rebbe explained yesterday in Tanya, that the Yisrael is not just that light is greater than darkness. That you have to, that there is the power of light. No, light can be very small. It's the essence of light, because light is symbolic of Eir Hashem. We call in Chassidus, Eir is an important thing by us. Eir, light. Because light, a little light, doesn't make a difference how much light you have. This little light transforms darkness. Because that's the way the Eibishter put it into the way. Baruch Hashem. That's the Eibishter put into the system. So therefore you see, you go from Erev, Levoiker, a little light brings out an unbelievable concept in the world. It transforms the world from dark to light in a second. We have to understand that concept in ourselves, that if we can just reveal a little light, a little my light of my neshama in my life, then I will transform this world from dark to light. I don't have to have a majority of light. I don't have to have an abundance of light. I don't have to accomplish, I don't have to be the greatest tzaddik or the greatest godly entity to transform this world. A little light. Every one of us lights a little candle. Within ourselves, we transform the choshen, and that's the Eir Hashem that we have, the Eir of the Eibush that we have with us in ourselves. Not we got it ourselves. So first of all, we have to fight. We have to have we have to reveal our positive side of us. And then by revealing our nefesh elikis, we reveal the light of the nefesh elikis. What is the light of the nefesh elikis? That's God. That's the light of God. And that little light of God, our nefesh Bahamas will disappear. Our nefesh will dissipate at that moment. And any darkness in the world will dissipate at that moment. And that's a beautiful teaching of Tanya today. And the day of this special day of Chav Daled Tevis, which is the Yotzei Dal Rebbe. So there's no better day to learn Chassidus and to connect to the Alter Rebbe. And may his neshama and his teachings continue to light the world and to ultimately bring the ultimate light to the world, the coming of Mashiach, which is Kishiafutzu Manasecha Chutzu, when the teachings of Chassidus will be estimated, will be teach throughout the entire world, which Baruch Hashem it is, and it will ultimately transform darkness into light and transform bitterness into sweetness. Today is the 24th day of the month, which is from chapter 113 to chapter 118, and you would have done the Tillim of the day, those 6 chapters, which is Hallel, which is the chapters of Hallel, and you do the chitas of the day. Mitchem tomorrow Shabbos, you'll continue to do your chitas by yourself, and we'll meet Mitchem Sunday. We will Mitchem meet with each other on Sunday when we'll start again to learn at 8 a.m. Sunday. We'll learn together the chitas of the day. I wish you all a beautiful Shabbos, a happy Shabbos, a healthy Shabbos, a wonderful Shabbos, and Mitchem. We should only celebrate with each other, and we should, Mitchem, we'll see each other 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. Have a wonderful and beautiful day. Wonderful, beautiful.